Harold Shipman was an English doctor and serial killer who murdered about 250 of his patients, according to an official inquiry into his crimes. Shipman's murders raised troubling questions about the powers and responsibilities of the medical community in Britain. He was born into a working-class family in Manchester. As a bright child, he became interested in medicine, as he watched his mother receive morphine injections to ease the pain she suffered while dying of lung cancer. In 1970, he received a medical degree from Leeds University. But in 1975, he was discovered to be addicted to opiate pethidine, and he was forced out of his practice and into drug rehabilitation. In 1977, he found work again as a general practitioner in Hyde. But in 1998, one of his patients, an 81-year-old woman, was discovered dead in her home only hours after Shipman visited her. Her family was perplexed by the suddenness of her death, as before she appeared to be in good health, and also by the fact that her will had been changed to benefit Shipman, as it gave £400,000 to him, and by Shipman's insistence, no autopsy was necessary. In 2000, he was convicted on 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery and sentenced to life in prison. Shipman committed. An official report found that he killed an estimated 250 people, beginning in 1971. In most cases, Shipman injected the victim with a lethal dose of diamorphine, and then signed a death certificate, attributing the incident to natural causes. His motives were unclear, but some speculated that Shipman may have been seeking to avenge the death of his mother, while others suggested he was thought to be practicing euthanasia, which removed the population of older people who would become a burden to the healthcare system. A third possibly realized that he was derived pleasure from the knowledge that, as a doctor, he had the power of life or death over his patients, and that killing was the means through which he expressed his power. Despite his forgery of the will of one of his victims, financial gain appears not to have been a serious motive. Yoo Young-chul, aka the Raincoat Killer, is a South Korean serial killer and possible cannibal who murdered at least 20 people. He mostly targeted wealthy seniors and prostitutes. He was born on April 18, 1970. He was born into poverty, which was the reason why he was bullied in school, and as a result, he began to hate the rich people. Even before becoming a serial killer, Yoo had a criminal record. In 1988, he was arrested for theft. In 1991, he committed theft again and was sentenced to 10 months in prison. In 1993, he was arrested again for theft and sentenced to 8 months in prison. Yoo was caught selling child pornography in 1995. He was also sentenced to 2 years in prison for theft, forgery, and identity theft in 1998. On September 24, 2003, Yoo broke into the home of a wealthy couple. The homeowner, a university professor named Lee Deok-soo, was stabbed in the neck with a knife. He and his wife were then bludgeoned to death with a hammer. Yoo staged the scene to look like a murder motivated by robbery, but nothing was stolen. This was the first kill of 20 more to follow. Yoo struck again on October 9th. Having forced his way into another house, he smashed the grandmother's head in with his hammer. The homeowner's wife ran down the stairs and encountered her mother-in-law's killer, whereupon he kicked her in the stomach and demanded to know if there were more people in the house. She said that her husband and son were upstairs. He proceeded to bludgeon her skull in and ran into her disabled son. Yoo forced him to kneel down and hammered him to death. The husband was not actually home at the time of the murders. 2 days after committing his final murder, Yoo was arrested. He had raised suspicion by calling a massage parlor where several employees had recently gone missing after receiving similar phone calls. He confessed to the killings. He also escaped from custody after pretending to have a seizure. However, he was captured 12 hours later. Yoo first appeared in court on September 6, 2004. He apologized to the families of the victims, but maintained that he had no intention of stopping his murders. 2 weeks later, he lunged at 3 judges. Yoo was supposed to appear in court again on October 4th, but attempted to kill himself the night before. He attacked a spectator 3 weeks later for cursing him, and later agreed to not cause any more commotion in the courtroom. On December 13th, he was found guilty and sentenced to death. Yoo was convicted of 20 murders and is currently incarcerated at Seoul Detention Center.